Hi everyone, this is Dr. Huang and today is our first lecture. In this session, I want to talk about the general concept of information technology in business, what are the values of IT, and how do we align the use of IT with business strategy. In particular, I want to lay the groundwork for you, a business manager, to understand for the rest of the class how you will be able to take advantage of information technology to achieve your business objectives and also your responsibility in managing this very important business resource. So let's get started.
First of all, let's take a look at the current status of information technology in business using some numbers. So the chart on the left shows the total spending globally by companies in IT. So you can see that last year the spending is around, I would say, 3.7, $3.8 trillion. So that's a trillion with a T. So that sounds like a big number, but how do we know it's big? Well, let's look for an equivalent number. So the 3.8 $4 trillion is in a similar range as the U.S. Federal budget, annual budget last year. So that's the total spending on IT globally. It's about the same as the U.S. government spending for the whole year. So that sounds pretty large. So in terms of absolute numbers, that tells you the information technology is probably a really important part of of an organizational activities because companies spend so much in IT. But the other way to look at that is based on the relative spending. So how much does a company spend on IT as a percentage of revenue? Because that tells you, relatively speaking, which resource does a company spend more money on. So that's shown on the chart to the right. So the industry average, or cross-industry average of IT spending is 3.3%. So you might say that 3.3% sounds pretty small, but in fact, this is not a small number. Because if you try to compare IT spending in terms of percentage terms to other spending, let's say marketing. So on average, marketing spending for any company of size $500 million or higher, the marketing spending uh, is about 3.5% on average. So that's in the same range of IT. I'm sure that pretty much everyone will say that marketing is a very important function. So based on the relative spending along, IT seems in the same range of importance as marketing. But this chart also tells us gives us more interesting information because you can see that the companies or the different industries spend different percentage of their revenues on IT. So starting from the bottom, you can see that companies such as construction, energy, food and beverage processing, retail, those companies spend only about 1 to 2% on IT, as opposed to banking, media, education. Those industries are what we usually classify as more information intensive industries, and they spend a lot more on IT. So they spend upward of 4% all the way to like 7% on IT. So you can see that IT has a different importance to different types of industries, and thus everybody spends quite differently on IT. But in general, information technology is a very important resources just based on spending alone. But why exactly would a company spend so much on IT? Well, after all, when you talk about technology, you're always thinking about computers, networks, databases, mobile phones, software, hardware, and so on, right? And when we think of business, it's about the Department of Finance, accounting, human resources, operations, marketing, sales, and all that. So what is exactly the connection between information technology and business? More specifically, what would IT do for business? And is there any way that the business concept or business management concept can contribute to information technology? In fact, there is a lot of impact that you can expect from information technology on business. So originally, when we first started using information technology, at the time, that was back in the 60s and 70s, it wasn't called information technology. It was called data processing and computing and all that. Uh, when uh, when those things were first applied to business, what people were looking for are better tools or new tools to perform the same tasks. So they were using computers to perform data processing, automation, mostly on the repeated and tedious work, such as bookkeeping and inventory control and all that. But soon people found out that we can actually use information technology to create new operations. Those are combined operations or additional tasks that can be added to the same processes so that the business can be performed better. So there's a lot of new processes that are being created. There are new concepts such as customer management and supply chain management that are being created because of the use of information technology. So that was a big breakthrough. And at that time, people were talking about really that was the beginning of the discussion of using IT to create business advantage. But today is actually a much more exciting time for using technology in business because now we're actually seeing many examples of using technologies to create or to create or doing business differently. So we have all these technologies such as social networking, mobile, location-based services, artificial intelligence, big data, and so on and so forth. Actually creates a create a completely new environment for business. And later on in this lecture, we're going to talk about the concept of digital transformation and how pretty much every business is now being turned into some kind of technology business. But in order to achieve the benefits of information technology on business, we need to manage IT well. And that's when all of the disciplines in business come in. So we have to understand how to plan for it. We have to understand how to execute the planning. We have to understand how to allocate the budget and apply all the accounting rules to that. In creating and implementing information technology, we have to be able to manage the projects well and operate all the systems. And we need to hire the best people, put them in the best organization so that they can function. So all of those things that you learn from the different classes in the MBA curriculum will apply to information technology. And later on in this class, we're going to look at the specific application of those business concepts on the management of information systems.